Let's talk now to Michele Geraci from Rome, former Undersecretary of State at Italy's Ministry of Economic Development. Thanks for taking the time to speak to us. Differing opinions in Italy. Someone in that report saying this is something that should be done. The closure of schools and sporting events behind closed doors should have been done months ago in January. Some people think it's a step too far to take. Where do you stand?
Well, listening to the advice of the experts, the doctors, the only way to contain this is quarantine, and that means absolute quarantine. There is no half measures in this situation. I know it's a painful steps, but I do believe that doing like China did, halting almost everything for a period of 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then start all over again from scratch, it is a much better option than just dragging with incremental measures. What the Italian government has done in the past month is introducing measures one by one and really never getting to grip with the whole situation. So it's like chasing the ball rather than anticipating.
Is it fair to say, though, the Italian government will have more trouble implementing measures, certainly much more so than the Chinese government, given the nature of the methods available to the Chinese government?
Well, it's a good question because we always debate if democracies or less democratic countries have a better hang on what they can do. But, the democracy materialized at the time of casting ballots for the votes. Now we have a government in place. The question is whether it's not about democracy or not, is whether state-run economies like China or more market-driven economies like Italy have there's anything in the hands of the government that other than spending money, but we do not have a major state-owned company that can then implement it. So the government is a little bit maybe willing to do something, but the means are not there. But this is not a difference really between Italy and China or democracy or not. It's between countries. For example, I would perhaps think that France, with a large number of state-owned companies and a better grip of the state into the economy, can actually be even more effective than Italy. Italy is a country made up of 4.2 million small, medium enterprises. We have problem of budget. We have to negotiate with the European Union if we can even spend the money, and then we need to find where to spend it. We are in a not so easy situation. I'm probably glad I'm not in the government these days, but I do keep in touch with them and try to give them advice. I think copy and paste what China has done. I would say paste spatial, paste and adapt it to the local situation in Italy. But again, the doctors, virologists say the quarantine is the only way forward. The other thing is that the government is taking sometimes contradictory measures. I take one. We have forbidden people from attending football matches. We have given people the advice to stay 1 or 2 meters away from each other. This is hardly the way that the football match is played, with players keeping a 1 or 2 meters distance. The same for school. Some people are in favor, some people are against. I think in one sentence, it's too little, too late, and we need a block set of measures, not piecemeal one by one. They don't work very well.
Yeah, you're an economist, and you obviously think the right thing to do is, as you said, copy and paste the Chinese model and adapt a bit to Italy's specific circumstances. If the right thing to do economically and in terms of health is to take those more extreme measures now rather than wait, what happens if the same thing doesn't happen in Italy as is happening in China? The number of cases is going down, but that might not necessarily happen in Italy. You could have an economic situation where you've taken extreme measures and it lasts for months rather than weeks.
Well, if we do take proper measures like complete lockdown and it still does not work or it does not solve the health problem within 2 weeks, then even more so the reason for doing it, because we have two scenarios. Either this epidemic can be contained with this extreme lockdown of even all economic activities and it gets solved in 2, 3, 4 weeks, or it doesn't. If it doesn't, it probably suggests that the health issue is much more serious. So we then must even more do the economic lockdown. So there is really no choice. The scenario whereby the health situation is not so serious, then it's the best case scenario, and that would mean that after 2 weeks of lockdown, we can restart. The problem that we have is that the credibility of the government and all of the overall country is put at risk. We could take like 2 weeks of economic impact, 2 divided by 52 is what it is, but then we can start again. And now we have tourism being hit hard. Only tourism takes 1% of GDP for the whole country, because we're already down 70-80% from the previous weeks. And this is the time where people book. It's the holidays, spring holidays, spring break, summer. And so Italy gets hit very, very hard if this thing does not get solved soon. And the way to solve it soon, the doctors say, is to total quarantine, lockup of the country. Maybe I'm saying in a very extreme way, probably doesn't have to be 100%, but limit a lot of movement of people.
Okay, Michele Geraci, thank you very much indeed for taking the time to speak to us. Appreciate it.